You are listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together. I am Leah Gutierrez, and I have dog Devin with me. And
that's good. Yeah. You know, I was really wondering if you were going to be able to get that down because
let's sit here practicing it.
I was really kind of hoping you were going to mess up because I wanted to make
normally
fun of
call
you.
him Devin Dog.
Yeah. Well,
so I had to enunciate the devil.
Devin dog. What does
Devin
that even
dog.
mean?
I don't know. I think it's just I'm not used to marine lingo.
Marine lingo?
Yeah.
You know, we got all kinds of lingo, you know, like well, most of it I can't say on a family-friendly radio show. Now that I think about it,
No.
But the first was coming to my mind was like all the acronyms, and I was like, that acronym's got a curse word in it.
Do you know, like,
that
if
acronym's
you-
got a curse word in it?
But like if you can say a whole sentence in acronyms, but if you spell it out, it's like a paragraph.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have to do that. I do that with my kids sometimes. I'm like, gosh, this thing is FUBARD. And they're like, what's that? And I'm like, it's broke.
Yeah, you go ahead and explain that to them. I think you should do that. Do you want to explain what FUBAR means to our audience listeners? No, you just want to get away
functional.
from that. Yeah, I can't wrestle
Beyond
that one out of your mouth.
repair.
Huh?
Yeah.
Speaking of wrestling,
our next guest, he was a wrestler.
I'm pretty sure he was actually a Marine.
Oh, that too. Yes.
But he may be.
And I feel outnumbered right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's either one of those things currently.
No.
You want to introduce our guest?
Our guest is Marine veteran and retired professional WWE wrestler. And now he is a deputy sheriff with the Iredell County Sheriff's Department. Cody. No, I kept calling him
Wow.
Cody. Chad Lail.
Chad Lail.
Chad
His
Lail.
name's Chad
I was
Lail.
doing that yesterday. We were
Wow.
practicing. Why can't Chad Lail is our guest.
Yeah. So hi, Chad. Hi.
You've had so many names over the years.
I was getting ready to say I've had so many names that I'll take whatever. I don't care.
Yeah. What you went by? So Chad Lail, Gunner. Wait a second. It's Jackson. No.
Yeah.
Jackson.
I'm testing you.
Riker?
Oh, there we go. Jackson Riker.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I've done a couple
And then
movies, so I've
Corporal.
had different
You
names.
did it? Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw that. You might be our most famous guest. No, we did have Montel Williams.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
So it's between you and Montel now.
I'll take it. I've had a pretty interesting life per se. So
Yes.
I would say so. Well, thank you for being on the show today, Chad.
Thank you, guys.
Or do you prefer Cody?
I like Cody. I don't know.
I don't know why. It was like yesterday. I kept saying Cody.
No,
I was like,
Chad will work. Okay?
Chad will work. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I was like, Cody, where'd that come from?
Exact guy.
Yeah, I mean, good gracious, whatever.
oh, I know. I served with a Cody Lail. That's why.
Did you really?
Yeah.
No
That's why.
kidding.
Must have been a swell guy.
He was actually a deputy with Jackson County.
Okay.
Oh, how about that?
That's why the name comes up.
That's it. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. You got a freebie on that.
For our national listeners who may not be from around these parts,
sorry, yeah.
all these places we're naming are in North Carolina.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Including Iredell County, where Chad is currently a sheriff's deputy. But how long you been doing that?
So I just hit my year back in September. So
Wow.
a year and some change now.
A year and change.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Jumped into it, and it was a goal of mine when I was in the Marine Corps. I was like, law enforcement, pro wrestling kind of thing. Of course, I chose to run the pro wrestling route, but law enforcement was another thing I really wanted.
And you're from around here, which
Hickory.
is why you sell.
Yeah. Hickory.
Hickory.
Hickory,
North
North Carolina.
So the
That is
guy
correct.
that does the trucks, is that a Hemi? He's from Hickory.
Okay.
Well, I can't remember his
that's
name.
A random
I don't know what's the
fact,
name.
But thank you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, the one that dodged like in the Dodge and he goes, that thing got a Hemi? Those commercials?
Those commercials are from like 1983.
No, they're not. They're from 1993, thank you. But he's from Hickory, so.
Oh, man.
It's a bunch of rascals from
Oh,
here. Yeah. So
Well,
I'm here with a bunch of
apparently
whippersnappers.
You and the guy from the Hemi commercial are from Hickory.
starting off right.
So you went to high school in Hickory?
I did. St. Stephen's High School. Graduated in 2000, May of 2000, and worked for, I don't know, about a year, and then 9/11 happened.
Oh man.
And that was something like opened up my eyes. I got a huge family history of military, dad and uncles, Army, Navy, Air Force. I mean, you name it. There was one other Marine in my family. He's my Uncle Gene, who lives in Mississippi. And I was like, you know what? I got to fight for my country. So it just, 9/11 really opened up my eyes. Best decision I ever made. I always say that.
Oh, yeah.
So it was, and I wanted to go to Marine Corps.
Awesome.
Because
Hoorah!
I think the reason I
mean,
wanted,
is there any other branch?
Well, yeah, I don't want to offend anybody, but no, there's not. So my Uncle Gene, who's the Marine, told me, like, you can go anywhere, just don't go to the Marine Corps. 'Cause he hated it.
Of course.
He hated it. But I went to the Marine Corps.
It was the best and the worst time of my life.
There you go. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I wouldn't trade it for nothing.
I feel you there, man. That's awesome.
Yes.
So what'd you end up doing in the Marine Corps?
So I was motor T operator. Motor T operator most of the time. We were attached to an infantry unit. I was part of 2nd FSSG, which was a support battalion at the time.
Right.
I think it's like 2nd MLG now, I want to say, Marine Logistics Group. They've changed it. But I was a red patcher. And some Marines out there listening will know what a red patcher is.
I know what a red patcher was. Y'all were in French Creek as well,
Creek,
right?
Yeah, man.
I was in 8th ESB, so I was just down the road a piece.
You went far.
Yeah.
So I was attached to an infantry unit. I got a chance to man a 50 cal a lot of the time, which was awesome. I'd have to drive a truck all the time, but that's what I did, man.
Man, that's cool.
Motor T guy.
So you actually went over there to the sandbox for a little while.
I did. 2005, went into Kuwait, did a deployment with the 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit.
Mhm.
So we were part of a naval fleet, just bouncing around all over the country. I mean, or all over the world, really. We went to Dubai, Spain, trained in Israel, went into Kuwait for about a month and a half, and did some stuff in Jordan. So I was lucky enough that I wasn't just in the sandbox for 8 or 9 months.
Yeah, man, that sounds like quite the deployment there.
It was actually cool. Yeah, we had some Liberty ports too.
I didn't never get to do that.
You never got to do it. Oh, no. We got lucky, man. We got lucky. We got to go to some Liberty ports, so it was cool.
Yeah. What was your favorite one?
I would say probably Malta, Italy.
Oh,
Yes, right at the boot of, right at the toe.
Oh,
It was a really, really beautiful place, man, and just a good time. So we got to stay there for about 2 days, and it was weird. It was like the drinking age there was 16. You go to McDonald's and these kids were drinking out of high school. I'm like, what is going on right now?
I mean, the people drink out of high school right around here.
They
It's
do,
just,
but you can't buy it in a McDonald's cup. But so yeah, that was a cool one.
well, that's true. But these days, if you saw a 16-year-old drinking, you might have to do something about that.
I'm going to call the State Highway Patrol because I don't want to deal with it. No, those guys help us out a lot. But yeah, we're definitely not going to put up with that, man.
Well, that's awesome. Hey, brother, we're getting ready to come up on the break. If you're listening on the radio, stay tuned. And hey, if you're watching on social media, stick around. There's going to be a lot more to see and talk about. And maybe Leah will get over her stage fright.
maybe.
Maybe. She's doing good. All right. You've been listening to putting your pieces back together. Yeah.
And welcome back to Putting the Pieces Back Together. Again, I'm Leah Gutierrez, which I can never say my last name. And we have Devil Dog.
Are you going to get it out of your mouth at some point?
You know what? I found it kind of comical right before we went on break that you had like a Porky the Pig. That's all, folks, kind of episode.
That was for the kids.
That was for the kids?
Yeah, you got to keep them entertained.
Well, you fumbled well.
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's by design, Leah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a professional.
You are.
Yeah, been doing this for a while now.
Yes.
Not that anybody's been listening. If you've been
We have
listening,
10 listeners.
Yeah. If you are listening and you like us, you could go to our social media. Or if you're already there, like, subscribe, those kind of things.
Yes.
Yeah. So we know that we're not just speaking to empty air. That would be great. Speaking of listening, they probably want to listen to more about
our guest.
Our guest,
Chad.
Cody.
Oh, that's right.
I am never going to live that down. Never.
His name is not
It's
Cody.
not Cody.
It is Chad.
It is Chad Lail. And Chad, before the break, you were just talking to us about you were in the Marine Corps and you got to go all kinds of cool places and
A lot, man.
yeah.
It's wild coming from like Hickory, North Carolina, for all who's been there. It's grown a little bit since then, but This was, 99, 2000, 2001. It was just a furniture town, nothing going on. And
my God, yeah, it was really furniture.
What I say is the best thing I ever did because, I'm sitting there in my hometown and I'm just like, there's got to be more. So obviously the Marine Corps, it's going to show you a lot more, or the military in general is going to show you a lot more. And I say it was the best decision because it allowed me to get out of that small bubble of North Carolina and see the world and see that there was more to life than just, like my dad always told me, like, you can do whatever you set your mind to. Just chase after your dreams, believe in yourself. And that's what I did, man.
You certainly did chase after your dreams.
Ran after it.
Because you come out of the Marine Corps, and then you immediately, what'd you do? Like, you immediately jump into the wrestling career?
So, funny story.
No, it's like going from one extreme to another.
Well, I actually, Well, I was stationed at Lejeune, like we talked about, which is the coast of North Carolina, down in Jacksonville. And I, a lot of the weekends, if I wasn't deployed or wasn't any, going somewhere training, I would travel back home to Hickory, North Carolina to start. I would do wrestling shows then. Even in the military.
While you were in the Marine Corps,
I would do military.
You were doing wrestling shows.
Absolutely. No kidding. So I started wrestling in 2000, right after high school, like local independent stuff, which is like basically little league football,
And for those listening, when we say wrestling, we're talking about like professional wrestling.
Yes.
Like the
Hulk Hogan, brother.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me tell you something, brother.
There you go.
That kind of wrestling, not the collegiate kind.
Yeah. No. Still wear spandex either way, but it's all right. So I made a living walking around my underwear. But I did wrestling while I was in the Marine Corps. Most weekends, like I said, unless I was deployed or something, I would travel home every weekend, have a show on a Saturday, travel back Sunday night, probably get back on base around 2 a.m. and be in formation at 6 a.m.
You with those
Holy
groups that travel to
smokes.
the different armories.
We were, yeah. So that's
Yes,
where I
and I
started.
used to-
The first show I ever did was in August of 2000 in the old Lenore, North Carolina Armory.
Yes.
And it's tore down now. There's a new one, I believe. But I wrestled in that. I've wrestled in schools. I've wrestled in bars. I've wrestled in barns. I've wrestled, you name it. I've wrestled all kinds of
Because I
places.
had to work some of those shows and they would have
the National Guard, right?
people that came out of the woodwork
Nuts.
to watch these shows.
Nuts.
oh
You put them
my
all
gosh.
together. It's insane.
I've seen a few of those shows when I was younger. I was like, man, this is cool.
So and so I got out of the Marine Corps in 2006, September. I got out and honorable discharge. And was like, all right, well, we can do one of two things. And I mentioned you guys early. Law enforcement, I was really pushing towards the State Highway Patrol.
Okay.
That's what I kind of had in my mind.
Because you don't have to have a degree to go.
No, you just go straight to the training.
Right. And this is a little caveat for those of you who are listening. If you are a Marine, you can go into the North Carolina State Highway Patrol without a degree.
Correct.
But any of the other branches, I'm pretty sure you.
Unless they've changed it, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you have to have a 4-year degree.
I'll have to ask.
Because Army sucks.
I could have went into law enforcement.
Listen, we support all branches of military here.
We
okay?
do support.
We do.
We love you, Army
We just
and
give you
Air
trouble.
Force
So
and Coast Guard.
there's bases around like Fort Leonard Wood that the MPs, when they graduate, they're automatically can get a job with, like, they take their credentials.
Yeah.
Oh,
Whereas
yeah.
like
Well,
for
that's
me, I would have had to still do BLET and all that. And I'm like, at 40-some years old, I was not jumping over walls and chasing down people
what
and
I
hitting
blame you.
I
dummies.
went into law enforcement at 41, so I did it.
Yeah, damn,
Yeah,
Chad.
I was like,
But
no,
but
nope, I'm
you're like
good.
a prime specimen
Oh,
over here.
man. Wait, did you go to Fort Leonard Wood?
Yes.
So I was there for my motor T school.
I was
Okay.
there too.
2003.
Yeah.
It was freezing cold. I hated that place.
Oh my gosh, it snowed and we had to dig ourselves out.
It was nuts.
Yeah, we had to send somebody out the window so we could get the door open.
It was crazy. That place, yeah. So that's funny. We've all got that in common.
Yep.
God.
Wow.
So okay, yeah. So but I realized, like, so long story short, 5-year-old Chad wanted to be a pro wrestler.
Yeah.
I grew up watching pro wrestling. I was mesmerized by these larger than life characters, Hogan, Undertaker. You name it. I watched it growing up as a kid, and I was like, okay, I at least got to attempt this dream. I can put law enforcement on the back burner for a little bit. It's always going to be there, but I at least have to attempt to achieve or to be a pro wrestler.
Yeah, that one's got a timeline on it.
It sure does. And some guys can do it longer than others, but I dove into it, man, and I gave it my all, and it ended up paying off. Which we can talk about more in detail.
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah. So you went from like doing gymnasiums and stuff,
Yeah.
and then how did you get picked up by, was it TNA?
TNA was the first one, which was, I think it's Impact now, Impact Wrestling. But
Right, yeah.
that was in 2008. Kind of got my foot in the door with like an on-air security spot where me and another guy were in kind of like the owner's security, personal security. But we were on air like characters. So it wasn't like a security, like, hey, you put up the guardrails. It wasn't that. It was actually wrestling security guys. So it was really my foot in the door. And in 2010, I signed my first contract with those guys, which really opened up huge doors for me. I started wrestling the UK and Mexico and all these places all over the world. And that was my first contract. It was my first taste of it. But it took, it probably wouldn't have taken as long if I hadn't been in the Marine Corps, because I could have went after it quicker. But it took about, I guess, 7 years to sign my first contract.
No kidding. So
Yeah.
you mentioned previously you were in the Marine Corps wrestling, and I got one question about that is, did you make weight? Were they taping you?
You talking about the Marine Corps?
Yeah.
So funny thing is, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I was 275, like a power lifter 275.
Oh,
And
dude.
thank goodness, I had a first sergeant, and man, she was wide open. She wanted me on remedial PT and all this other stuff.
Because you were
but I could still,
overweight.
I could still,
Yes.
right, no. I could
Quotation
still
marks.
run and do all this other stuff. So I had a staff sergeant that took care of me.
Okay.
He's like, no, we're not putting you on remedial. Matter of fact, he said, you know what, we'll make sure we make her happy. We'll put you on remedial PT, but you can just go to the gym. No, I love you. So no, I never did have to. That was the only kind of trouble. Our first sergeant, she was like almost ready for retirement. She was super hardcore. I didn't like her.
I can
At
understand
all.
that. She's trying to put you on remedial
Man.
PT because you're.
Yeah. So, but that was the only time they ever messed with me.
Oh man. So just for the non-veteran audience out there, there are weight standards in all branches of the military, and it goes off of height and weight, and sometimes they just don't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I got taped at one time, and I was like, I had an 18-inch neck with a 27-inch waist. And I look like a cartoon character. And,
You still do.
I
still do. Yeah.
Just a
Devil
funnier
Dog
version.
Yeah. So, no, man. I couldn't wear my dress blues by any means by the time I got
Oh
out.
no, yeah. Oh, imagine
So
not.
they're still hanging in the closet at the house. But
So I didn't mean to go down that.
No,
path
no,
too
that's
far,
fine,
But
yeah.
that's just, oh man,
Yes.
I thought that was hilarious. So 7 years to get your first contract, and did you immediately pick up that moniker of Gunner?
So that is a name that they asked me, like, kind of a little bit of my background. I said, well, military. I got the man of 50 cal in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, wait a minute. So we started thinking about the name Gunner. And yeah, I picked that name up in, I guess, when I signed the contract with those guys in early 2010, and just ran with it. So I own that name. Now, Jackson Riker's owned by WWE, but we can still say it on TV.
Right. You can say it, but you just can't use it if you were going to
Correct.
go.
But Gunner, I can use as long as I live. If I ever chose to go back into wrestling again, it would be the name that I would use. So,
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. You would probably prefer from here on out if I just called you Gunner and instead of the old Jackson Riker.
no.
Or would you prefer Cody?
No. Let's just stick with Chad, okay?
I'm going to get pulled over.
I'm a humble
I'm going to
man.
get pulled over and be like, I know Cody Lail. They'll be like, who's Cody Lail?
They're gonna be like, who?
Oh man, I hope you do.
We don't have a Cody Lail.
I'm going to be calling
Ma'am,
in
step out of the
taillights
car.
on the way home. Just
Cody
see what
Lail.
happens. Oh, good Lord.
So,
We've got about a minute and a half before the break. I was thinking, you mentioned you went to the UK and all these other places. Is wrestling, real quick, big over there?
oh, it's huge, man. Like, even now in the United States, I'll be brief about this. United States, like, wrestling has become so, it's mainstream, obviously, but like the media, like social media, everybody's got like an opinion when it comes to pro wrestling and all this stuff. But like the UK still goes back to the roots where they just love, like when I was growing up, storytelling.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
and it's for pro wrestling fans out there, they're going to understand what I'm talking about. Like there's
Absolutely.
a storytelling to pro wrestling, and you're painting this picture inside the ring. And now you can't make not too many people happy anymore. So yes, it's huge over there.
When I was growing up, it was man soap opera, basically.
It's a man's soap opera.
Yeah.
Yeah. My uncle used to sit and watch with me and Dad. They used to say my grandfather, before he passed away in the 70s, but he would get mad if somebody would start talking during wrestling. I'm like, so yeah, man. So the UK, the crowds they're awesome, man.
They're still really into it.
Ireland, those areas, the UK, Scotland, man, they're great people.
Well, man, I'm glad you got to experience that, and
Yes.
Maybe I'll try my hand. Am I too old? Am I too old to get wrestling?
How are you?
I'm 42. We're the same age.
We could be a tag team.
So, tag team. In the break, we're going to discuss this. You're going to catch more putting the pieces back together if I survive.
Welcome back,
to
you.
Putting the Pieces Back Together.
Yeah.
What are you doing? This is my
You
turn.
told me to come in.
I don't think that's what I said.
Yes, you said, why don't you bring us back, Leah?
And then you declined. You're like, pointed at me. I mean, is that not a clear indication that you don't want to do it?
Well, I didn't think you would hold up to your end of the bargain.
Oh my gosh.
I think we should just go at it. Like SmackDown.
Fight it out. Oh, wow. Yeah. Speaking of which.
Yes, go ahead. That was our. Look, we finally got our segue.
Got a segue. Yeah, it worked out.
I'll be the ref, okay?
Special referee, Chad Lail.
Yeah.
Are you going to wear the gunner outfit?
Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe. I'll pull it out.
What was the guy? That was like a flannel cutoff shirt. Is that what you wore most of the time?
I had a ring jacket. A lady and her husband who own a company in Chicago called One Star Clothing, and they do Five Finger Death Punch, all these different bands. So I was the first wrestler they started working with in 2014. I met them through
No kidding.
Can I say band names on it? I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
So you've heard of Black Label Society, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the former
got
guitarist,
them on
Nick
vinyl.
Cantonese, got me hooked up with these guys. So they started making my ring jackets, like at no cost for years. They just took care of me.
No kidding.
And I mean, some of these jackets are like $1,000 coats. But,
Holy smokes.
so I was very fortunate, man, to have somebody like that who was just amazing. She's amazing.
Wow. Was that because you were a veteran or?
Yeah, I mean, we had a conversation on the phone, and they were looking to kind of branch out of music and not just do music as well, but wanted some other. So now they do. Now I've got them. They do all of, for wrestling fans out there know the legend Edge from WWE.
Yeah.
They do all his ring jackets.
No
and
kidding.
him and I started talking. He's like, "Man, where'd you get these at?" And lo and behold, I hooked him up, and there you go.
So their gamble paid off with you, right?
Oh,
there.
absolutely. Yeah. And they got a lot more wrestlers now after me that were like, dude, these are great, because they were one of a kind, and I still have every one of them stuffed in a closet. They would do like small things like Eagle, Globe, and Anchor, or like Marine, or however many years I was in the Marine Corps, Ford had put certain. So there's like little things that mean a lot to me. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it paid off a lot. So, and then my trunks, which we call our gear, what we wrestle in, my underwear,
Yeah.
they were made by a good buddy of mine down in Georgia that I knew. So
They call them Ranger panties.
Ranger, we call them Ranger, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But isn't there like little symbols or something on y'all's duty uniform?
Are you talking about like the BDUs?
Yeah.
The battle dress? So the new camouflage
digital?
Digital does have little Eagle, Globe, and Anchors.
Yep.
So the Marines are the originators of digital camouflage in the U.S.
Yes, you are.
They are.
The Army just copied us. They wanted to look like us. I mean, it was
Now
one
the
of those
Navy,
things.
and I guess everybody's got
Yeah,
it.
those
Everybody digital?
ones that we changed to the ACUs
What
that
is
were
it?
supposed to be green, but they looked blue.
I heard about
Oh,
that.
I'm like, what are we
wow.
going to do? Blend in with gravel?
I heard about those.
If it
Oh my
make-
gosh.
I mean, most combat's in urban environments anyways
Yeah.
these days, right? Yeah. You're just going to blend in with the gray.
Just
It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. I don't know.
Horrible uniform choice.
Let's roll with it. Yeah. Right. So,
Oh, good Lord. So you got these fancy ring jackets and you got Edge and all that.
yeah.
So you probably met a lot of the wrestlers.
Man,
doing that.
yeah, I've met all the guys I grew up watching. The only ones I really never got a chance to meet, Stone Cold, I didn't get a chance to meet him because he was basically retired and not even part of the scene. He was doing movies, doing podcasts, all the stuff that he does now. And who else, man? I was trying to think. Ali.
Did you see John Cena?
Yeah, I met, did I see him? Is this a trick question? Yes. I met John many times. Yeah. Yeah. I never did go up to him and go, I can't see you, because that probably would, he'd be like, dude, get out of here.
Yeah, bro.
But yeah, so man, like been around Hogan, been around Flair, been around Sting. I mean, you name it. I've got the chance to, some of them wrestle, and a lot of times be in a locker room with.
So you spent all those times with those big name wrestlers that a lot of us remember watching growing up. I mean, who was your hero, like, and did you get to meet him?
Hogan. Hogan was the one that got me. I talked about being 5 years old, that I remember seeing him on TV as a 5-year-old kid going, what in the world is this? Because I loved action movies as a kid, and I loved bodybuilding. So of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger and then Hogan, it was like the best of both worlds. And so Hogan was the one that captivated me as a child, and I got a chance to be around him a lot, man. And then I hadn't seen him in probably, it had been 5 or 6 years. And in 2021, we had our first WrestleMania back live in Tampa, Florida, that I was a part of. And Hogan was backstage, and I went up, shook his hand, thinking he's probably not going to remember me. And dude, he remembered me by name, not Cody, but he remembered me by name. No, but he did. He remembered me by name, and I'm just thinking, that's insane, man. Like,
that is
this guy
awesome.
grew up like wanting to be like, knows who I am, you know? And he was just sitting there. We sat and talked for 5 or 10 minutes, and it was just great.
That is cool.
Yeah. So
Man.
I got a lot of guys I grew up idolizing, but that was the main one.
I think everybody during that time, if you were alive in the 80s, Hulk Hogan, it was
huge.
I mean, like, you might have had your favorite, like
The Warrior, Ultimate Warrior.
Ultimate Warrior
was huge. But Hogan's just, I mean,
Macho Man Randy
oh yeah,
Savage.
that's one of my favorite, man. I never got a chance to meet him because obviously he died back in, I can't remember what year. It's been a while back, but he died. So
he had quite. He was Hogan's heel though.
yeah, oh yeah, they were good buddies. They're the Mega Powers. Oh yeah, and then he split on him, man.
Oof.
I tried to get with Miss Elizabeth, and no way, brother. Yeah, dude, it was so great. I love wrestling.
Did you get a chance to be both the hero and the heel?
I did. My favorite was, you know, when I was in TNA with Gunner, I did the hero thing where they would have me coming out kind of pushing the military veteran thing, which was cool.
Right.
But when I get a chance to be like what we call the heel, the bad guy, it's always fun because you just trash talk people. And you can just be more dirty in the ring. You know what I mean? So it goes back to like having, you know, like a bar fight. I mean, you're just that dirty guy who uses anything you can to win. So I don't know. It was
Anything you can. I mean,
depending on what type of match it is.
Yeah.
But,
Did you have a special move? I was looking that up. I couldn't
I've had a couple. Yeah, with TNA, it was I used the power bomb. I don't know what that is. Google it. I don't know how to explain it.
I've been power bombed, and it wasn't for pretending. I did not like that.
Yeah, no, it hurts. So yeah, mostly the power bomb was a big one for me. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, you're kind of a big dude. You can. I mean, I'm not asking for you to powerbomb me.
No,
Please
let's
don't,
not.
Don't do that. These floors are concrete.
Maybe we can do a
Joe's like, yes.
Yeah.
He's like violently shaking his head.
That's not going to make for good radio when I don't get back up.
I could do a fundraiser for PHH.
There you go.
PHH. Oh, yeah. Well,
I'm down. I'm down.
Man.
We can make something happen.
Oh, then I have to wear the silky shorts.
You don't have to. You don't have to. No.
Please no.
Yeah. Yeah. See.
Joe again has his thumb up. Our producer.
Joe was not here when he ripped his shirt.
That's true. Yeah,
I did see that.
If you haven't seen that, I made a little promo video.
That was incredible.
And, yeah. But one of the things you mentioned earlier is you didn't get to see and meet Stone Cold because he was already off into his movie career.
Yep.
Speaking of movies.
Yeah, you kind of did a little bit of that yourself. And
I did.
Yeah. And do we want to save that for after the break? Or
I say, yeah, we can kind of, I've done two, we can kind of dive into a little bit after the break maybe, but I've done 3 or 4 films, but 2 main ones that some folks out there may know of. And Navy SEALs versus Zombies.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Which sounds like a terrible name.
It is a terrible name.
But it was a very fun film. It was shot in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Oh, man. Yeah.
And it was like 3.5 weeks.
I've been
worked with 2 retired Navy SEAL guys that were there as like weapons advisors, but they ended up acting on the movie with us. And really cool opportunity, man. Got to do my own stunts.
Yeah, I would look at you and go, yeah, we're not going to call in a stunt man.
No, I wouldn't want them to. I mean, I would rather, if it was something where I got to get hit by a car or something, you got to be careful because at the time I was actively pro wrestling for a living. So I couldn't do something like that. But
pro wrestling's kind of like being a stunt man all the time, right?
Year round. So like I heard Triple H say this one time, like somebody, growing up, people were like, well, why would you want to be a fake pro wrestler? And like, it's like, use that word I hate that word, by the way, but it's a active, like a physical form of entertainment. Like there's no off season for pro wrestlers. I mean, so it's let's not call it fake.
No, it's not fake. Not fake news. No, it is a athletic dance. Maybe I don't know.
It is a dance.
Yeah,
it is a dance.
And it probably takes a little bit more skill than what most people think.
It does.
I've watched people do these things, and I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah. But well, I think we're going to get into your movie career right after this break. You've been listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together. We'll catch you then. Welcome back. You've been listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together, brought to you by Purple Heart Homes. We are a 501c3 dedicated to helping men and women who served in the military with critical home repairs. Find out more about us at phhusa.org.
And right before the break, we were talking about movies that you have starred in. I want to know about Game Night. What was that about?
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
That was a good one.
So we filmed that one in my daughter was just born, so 2017, which was right before I signed with. Matter of fact, I signed with WWE while filming that movie. So 2017 in Atlanta, I auditioned for the film. My only name was the Bulgarian Goon. That was what they called me. But I wasn't Bulgarian at all. Like even in my lines of speaking, there was like no Bulgarian accent. I'm like, okay, this makes sense, whatever. But I got a chance to work with like Rachel McAdams, Jason Bateman, Michael C. Hall, I believe is his name, that played Dexter.
Yes.
And little did I know he was is from North Carolina.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, but just a really fun film, and we filmed it down in Atlanta. It was like probably a month shoot, getting a chance to work with those guys and two really good directors they've directed many, many films. You remember the show Freaks and Geeks?
Yeah, that was a great show.
So one of the directors was one of the actors, and I can't remember his name, but they were all really cool. I got to do my own stunts in that movie, and I've always had a crush on Rachel McAdams. If you're listening, I'm your guy.
Wow.
But it's
that's a call out to you.
Yeah, just saying.
We'll see if we can make that happen.
But no, she was. All of them were really cool. Like Jason, I worked with for a little bit, but she was really, really awesome to work with. I had like 3 or 4 scenes with her. And it was a really cool film. And then, I mean, just to be able to go to like the movie theater and see me on big screen, because like I always wanted to do some movies. It's not like the ultimate thing I wanted to do, but I was like, to be able to go at the time and watch that with my family and go, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
So that
crazy.
Doesn't bother you to like watch? I know some people like it weirds them out to.
No, even with wrestling for years, I had to like study my matches. Yeah. So I knew that maybe we should try that. Maybe we should not do that again. Listen to my promos, meaning when I'm talking in the ring or talking backstage, like what to do better or what not to do again. So it's kind of like studying yourself a week. Because some people, I got buddies that hate watching themselves. And I'm like, dude, why? That's how you learn.
Absolutely. I listen to every single one of these shows back just to see what we did wrong and what we could do different.
Correct. Yeah, it's a learning process.
Constant improvement. So you really have got to do like a full gambit of things. You're Marine, professional wrestler, movie, professional actor, and now you're with the sheriff's office.
Yes.
Yes. So I know we started off on that, but what ultimately brought you to come and be a sheriff?
Well, in 2023, I got out of WWE in 2021, November 2021, and I knew that like I'd always said that when wrestling got to where it was, one, not really fun anymore, or my body was hurting, that I would step away. I wouldn't be one of those guys that in my 50s, I'd just crippled walking around because I got an 8-year-old child. That's my goal, is to be a father, not be crippled. So I was like, all right, it's going to be time to hang it up. What can I do? And I started thinking about law enforcement. I had an uncle that was retired out of a police officer in Newton, North Carolina, and just kind of started talking to a couple guys here at the Iredell County Sheriff's Office. One of them, Chief Hamby, who a lot of the listeners may know. He ended up getting a meeting with me, sitting down with me, brought me into the sheriff's office and spoke to, Sheriff Campbell, Darren Campbell. And one thing led to another. I had that meeting. And then the following Monday, out of all, things that happened, there was a free spot that had just opened up for basic law enforcement training.
Kidding.
And they put me right in the class. And I was like, well, this is getting shotgunned here, but I've always looked into life as like there's a purpose for things. Things happen for a reason. It's not, to me, I don't believe in coincidence. And when I retired from wrestling, I decided law enforcement is what I want to do. And this county is just, you know, and I'm not just like blowing smoke. Like Sheriff
Right.
Campbell takes care of us.
He
Like, we got
does.
an amazing agency. We have an amazing county that backs the law enforcement here.
Oh yeah, this is a great place to
Oh, yeah.
live.
It's amazing.
as far as law enforcement goes. I mean, I have all the faith in Sheriff Campbell.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
he's a genuinely good dude
He is.
too. Like he's
Yep.
a good guy. I like fun to talk to. And
He is a good
yeah.
Christian man. Like, and that's big about my life is just, you know, working for someone who has good morals,
Absolutely.
you know, and he wants us to get out into the county and show our face and be a part of the community so people see us as deputies, but also as like, I guess, friends in a way. They can trust us and rely on us.
Well, that's what you really should want from your law enforcement. They're not there to punish you.
No.
They're there to keep the peace. They're officers of the peace, and that's I really do think that Iredell County does a particularly good job in being an officers of the peace rather than just people who
Oh, yeah.
are punitively there to enforce the law.
Correct. Yeah. We're not bullies per se. You know?
No,
Yeah, no, we're not, man.
Although if you wanted to bully, you're a pretty big fella, right?
Yeah, I mean, I could. But the big thing I don't like is like when we'll meet kids and moms and dads sometimes, and don't say this to your child, but like a lot of times the mom and dad will be like, you see that law, deputy there? If you're not good, I'm gonna have him arrest you. And like, don't talk. We don't want a kid to be afraid of us.
Absolutely.
So I'll
not.
go into schools with these, in uniform and speak to these kids about, and you did it with me. We talked to the kids.
I met you
Yeah.
there.
So it's like, we don't want them to have fear of law, like respect the law, but we want them to understand that, no, we're the good guys.
I always did the opposite. I would see a sheriff's deputy or a policeman, and they were like, "Hey, you see that guy right there or that
Right.
gal? If you're in trouble, that's who you go to. That's who
Correct.
you can talk to."
Yep.
And I think that I wish more parents would do that.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I teach my 8-year-old that too. She'll meet and she's just been instilled with this. She'll meet a veteran. She'll see somebody with a military hat on, and she'll be like, "Thank you for your service." It's an 8-year-old,
My
So
boys
she's
do
wonderful.
that,
yeah. It's just something she's instilled with, and I love it.
Well, I wanted to get back to something you mentioned earlier, that you said your faith was important to you, and you're kind of doing something right now outside of the sheriff's department with that. What
I do, man. I'm fortunate enough to be able to speak in some churches. I have different pastors that have called me to come in and speak. Youth ministry is like a big part of my heart. Because these are our future leaders of the world. Regardless of what everybody your beliefs are, I think it's important to instill in them. And so, me and a friend of mine about 3 years ago, started a youth retreat, kind of a camp that we do in August every year in Tennessee, out in the mountains, and we bring 15, 20 kids from 12, 13 to about 17
Oh, wow.
and just we all come together as kind of youth leaders and these kids and just talk to them about obviously our faith in Christ, what it means to me, what it's brought me through in my trials and tribulations in life. And I think it's like always been very important for me. Growing up, I was in a church-loving family, and obviously, in my 20s and 30s, I steered my own path and went down my own road. But there's always been something kind of pulling me back. And I just like to share my story of like, we don't have to get it right. We don't have to be perfect because nobody's perfect.
No one is perfect.
You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? There's only one perfect man, and it was Jesus Christ in my eyes. You know what I mean? And so it's very important to me, and that's what I love about this county as well. I mentioned a minute ago that it's something that Sheriff Campbell's like, the first thing he said to me, I remember we're sitting at a desk having an interview, and he said, "I want quality, not quantity. I want a quality deputy. I don't care about numbers. I could go out here and hire anybody I want to, but I want quality." And he said, "I also want someone who's going to go out there." And he looked at me and said, "Are you a believer?" And I said, "Absolutely." He said, "I want somebody that's going to go out there and share Jesus with these people." And I have a lot of opportunities, man, with somebody's in the back of my car to just, and it's not me thumping a Bible or preaching to them, but it's me saying, "Hey, today's not the last day. Tomorrow's going to be a new day." And then just kind of sharing some things with them. So,
I can imagine that's got to be a unique experience. Having somebody being in the back of the car and feeling really, they're clearly getting ready to go through some bad stuff, going to go to jail or what have you, and having somebody being willing to take the time to speak with them.
sure.
Telling them that there's still hope.
There's still hope. Well, and I always tell them, like, I could be in your position. I could have been in your position, but I chose otherwise. A lot of these folks have lost hope. But we work in a good, I guess, ministry field where you can kind of share some hope with them. So it's kind of beautiful, really.
That's a one, man. I don't know that I've ever had anybody talk about law enforcement that way, or at least the duty of being in law enforcement. Now, I think if more people had that attitude that were in there, maybe we wouldn't have some of the attitudes that we have in the communities,
Right.
because you really have to go back and connect with them. And but it's hard. We're in a really treacherous environment for law enforcement right now. So it's
Yeah.
very. I just want to commend you on. I always tell veterans, thank you for your service, but to go into law enforcement right now with the way that society feels about law enforcement, you really truly are doing a service. So
I agree.
Thanks for doing that.
And I think thank you. And I think it's getting a little bit better to where people are starting to see, like, we're not bad.
No.
They're starting to respect it a little bit more in certain areas of the world, or the United States. But it is you still got to keep your guard up. Never get complacent.
Yeah.
It's just like in the military going overseas, you can't be complacent, because
Absolutely.
I want to go home every night.
Well, we got about 2 minutes left, Chad. Is there anything that we didn't hit on that you want to hit on?
First of all, I appreciate you guys having me on. Anytime I get a chance to not only represent the sheriff's office, but represent what I've done, what I've been blessed to do since I was 18, 19 years old. I mean, I'm 42 now. Sometimes I have to sit back because I went through some times about 2.5 years ago, struggles and a divorce. And I mean, all these things where I had to sit back and realize, like, man, it's not the end of the world. And realize, like, my mom even said, like, you've went through a lot of things. You've lived a very interesting life, and now you're jumping into law enforcement, and it's just another chapter of your story that, I can teach my 8-year-old daughter and share with her. So
that's absolutely wonderful. And, the name of the show is Putting the Pieces Back Together, because we talk about that transition from military to civilian life. And you've made several transitions in your life. And I loved being able to share your story today, these unique experiences.
Thank you. I've had to put a lot of pieces back together. So it's funny that that's the name of the show. I have some pieces that I caused on my own, and other pieces is just part of life. But it's true. And I want to say thank you for what you guys do at Purple Heart Homes and giving back to these veterans who, man, some of them have given almost everything or lost everything.
Absolutely.
So we appreciate it.
Well, Leah, you got any final thoughts?
No.
What's my name?
No. Chad Lail.
Chad Lail.
I like the fact real quick that she does it. I've never met somebody who goes, man, I don't really like to pronounce my last name. I'm like, I've never
I'll
heard
tell you about that.
Yeah, I got to hear it in a little bit. That's good.
Well, we may have time for a final little story and like the social media, so stick around for that.
Yes.
Hey, you've been listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together, brought to you by Purple Heart Homes. We'll catch you next week.
Bye.